This is episode 66 of the Ownstream Podcast, featuring Peta Kelly.
Welcome to the Ownstream Podcast. I'm Teresa Scoba.
And I'm Stephen Shelley.
And we just hung up with Peta Kelly, who is like, woo! She's like such a, just like great rush of energy. She's she's like so right in her calling, right in her guidance, like really like honest and raw and real. She calls herself human as fuck. She says that a lot. You know, she's just like, but she's so tapped in. She is transmitting such a powerful message. And it's really the message of the transformation of our time. Mm-hmm. You know, it's really the message of living free and easy and playing and feeling good about what you're doing and not taking yourself so seriously. And really all of this feeling good is really about letting through and allowing what wants to come through from your consciousness, what wants to come through for your calling. You know, that it's about being in alignment with that does feel good, and shedding some of the, layers of story that we've had for generations about what we're supposed to do in the world and kind of grinding it out and the way we're supposed to make money. She has a great message about money as our teammate and how money is a story we tell ourselves and that we can change that story and create with abundance. And it's really like she's just creating. She talks about loving being a creator, and she has such a beautiful story about, following her own excitement, becoming an entrepreneur, making a number of resources through network marketing, where she began with a real passion. And then as that was happening for her, as she discovered financial freedom and had the kind of freedom to start bringing through, traveling the world, sharing a message. And she's really been doing that and is just like full steam ahead in her message of service.
Yeah, and this is a new mother as well. Her, I guess, what was it, 10 months old?
10 and a half.
10 and a half months old daughter from, and she, so she just kind of knowing what that's like, and the fact that she's released a book and she's on a book tour, traveling and giving long talks in front of fairly large audiences, I imagine. It gives you a sense of what the flow is through her and how much she's kind of cleared away the debris so that this action can take place through her. And listening to her, it's really the voice of someone who's aligned. And gosh, I'm continually amazed at the message that virtually everybody's sharing on our show and the media that we consume as well, amongst many other people, which is it's really about getting aligned and getting tuned into your calling. That's our word for it. Other people use different words, but it's about being aligned with that, making that the number one priority, and then kind of seeing what wants to come through there, what wants to kind of flow through that aligned space. That's it. And Peta is a great example of someone who's really aligned and who, because of that, is creating so much and giving so much and mainly serving so many people, helping so many people. Yeah, so her book is out. We will certainly link to that in the show notes. It's called Earth is Hiring, which it's a beautiful title, and it really kind of delves into all the paradigm shifts that are occurring, and that we're not here to save the earth, but the earth is trying to save us. And I just loved that perspective shift that she shared.
Yeah, and on that point that the earth, what she says, earth wants of us as individuals and as a collective is to shift our consciousness, to raise our consciousness, that we have the power to work with the earth to change the world, not to save the planet, but to kind of save ourselves, to save what's going on. We look around us, we seem to see a lot of mayhem, systems crashing down, this and that. But what's also rising up is a raising of consciousness, which is meeting to save the world. She talks about how our energy, is responsible for terrorism, is responsible for like every little thing and terrorism. We have the power as a collective and as individuals to raise our consciousness and to change our own lives and to change the lives of everyone on the planet.
So before we let you go, one last thing I wanted to say was that I kept thinking about and I bring this up at the end about how so many young people are now leading the way. They have taken the reins. They are leading this revolution, this shift. And, other guests that really, really kind of came back to me listening to Peta were certainly Bentinho Massaro, who's a young man that we're avid fans of. And I kept thinking that the two of those, they ought to get together and do a program or something, because they're so aligned and there's a lot of congruency there. But also Bridget Nielsen, a number of other people that we've spoken with on the show who are maybe younger than you. All of them are younger than me, and Teresa. And each of us is sort of putting our ego aside about age and seeing the wisdom in these younger people. I really think maybe now more than at any other time, at least in recent human history, young people are the ones who are so important, because the acceleration is so fast, because so much is changing. They don't have all the clutter to work through that, say, I have, and can get there faster. And if you look around you, if you turn on the TV for 5 seconds, you'll know people need to wake up. Consciousness needs to evolve. It needs to become, it needs to be front and center. And that's what all of them are seeking to do, and to remind us to do for ourselves. So that's enough from us. Peta is a fabulous guest. You're going to really love this. She is full of energy and clarity galore. Please enjoy. We'll be back afterwards with a quick wrap up, but do enjoy our conversation with Peta Kelly.
Well, Peta, welcome to the show. We are so excited to talk to you. We know you have a ton of really exciting stuff going on right now, so it feels like, particularly with all the momentum you have going on, such a great time to be talking. So welcome.
Thanks so much for having me. I had a look through all of your guests and the topics of your conversations, and they're just so different to all of the, quote unquote personal development stuff. So I was really drawn to it. So thanks for having me.
Awesome.
Yeah. We like to talk to people who are, following a calling that may not be on the mainstream path, usually isn't, and is very unique to them. And we like to tell those stories to, awaken that what lies within each of us for that kind of calling. Well, I think a good place to get started is we like to talk to people a little bit about what it was like before their current expression, So maybe you could tell us a little bit. I know that, you've been an entrepreneur now for a while, but you weren't always an entrepreneur. You were pursuing a PhD at one point. You called yourself a science nerd. Can you tell us a little bit about maybe your early life and schooling? Was it fairly kind of a conventional way that you grew up, or was there an understanding or teaching early on in your life that life is a little more than most people make of it?
Yeah, well, my growing up was great. I was raised by a single mom with 4 children, and so that was, just amazing. And my dad, people always ask, where's your dad? My dad, he was close by, and I absolutely love him. But we were raised by my mom, and I have, 4 siblings, super close in age, and it feels so weird to say, super humble beginning. I think everybody sort of had a super humble beginning, but it was just great. We did every single sport. But I think the greatest gift from my childhood was having a mum who, she was a full-time school teacher and the most generous woman on earth, and she just really was like our hero. We just, we believed in Santa Claus for so long because we were like, how on earth could mum do what she did? And so, growing up, I just saw this really generous, super socially responsible woman who just had such a great work ethic. And she always, we did all these sports, and, it could be considered conventional, but I think, I don't know, when being raised by a single mom, you're always raised with like an element of seeing like real superpower in someone, you know, like she was a superhero, like how she raised us all, like to literally go without nothing but being on a teacher's wage and have us like, we didn't go without a thing. And it's just, and then she still like coached soccer teams and just no excuses. And she really, because she was a high school teacher, she really had a way of parenting us that involved so much trust. Like she just really trusted us and always let us know that she trusted us. Like she was never sort of telling us what to do. And, she was just such a loving, trusting parent who, we had boundaries, but I think, again, being a school teacher, she just knew that what children and teenagers need is to feel trusted to trust themselves. Mm-hmm. So when I left school, I was always really nerdy at school, and we've, like I said, played a million sports. I love school. I love learning. I was like, my siblings always called me Lisa Simpson. So when I got out, I was like dead set. I'm going to be a doctor by the time I'm 25. The way I'm going to help the world is through health and wellness. I'm going to, really help people through weight management. I was really super passionate about it because we grew up playing so many sports and, we're pretty healthy. It always upset me when children weren't. So, I left school. I went to university. I got my first degree. Then I did a thesis, got my second degree. It was all like going great. I got, first class honors, got my PhD scholarship when I was 22. So I was really on track to hit that goal, doctor by the time I'm 25, but really, that was my goal because I didn't really, I just needed to have a goal, right? So back then I didn't, again, I was just on that path. But when it came time for me to defer my PhD, which was 6 months in, was just that time where I didn't know it back then as the soul speaking, but all I knew was I just felt my body was just giving me so many signs that I needed to get on a new path. Mm. And so it was just basically like, not wanting to get out of bed and just really dreading going to the lab and, wishing my clients would cancel and just all these things that you shouldn't be feeling as a 22-year-old in the Western world of privilege, right? So
yeah.
When I told my mom, I just said to her, Mom, I'm just going to defer my PhD. She was like, great. Like, I totally trust you. You're going to, whatever you want to do, you're going to do. And so I always felt trusted and like I could always listen to myself. But back then it wasn't like I said, I wouldn't consider myself to be on a spiritual path. I was very much like partying, going on benders and everything. But again, that's still part of the spiritual path, right?
Right.
So then I took a leap of faith and just went exploring and I always had like a distaste for, I suppose, bosses. I always worked jobs. I worked at Subway for 4 years. I worked since I was 13 and $5 an hour, slicing cold meat in the deli, working at a bakery, doing letterbox drops, door knocking, leading horses around fairs, like literally always worked because I looked at my mum and I was like, wow, I want to have that work ethic as well. So I knew how to work. So I remember a story distinctly when I was about 21, about to start my PhD, and I had a boss who was just so rude and so unappreciative. And my shirt on her desk, and it was like a corporate health club, and walking out and being like, I just don't need to ever work under those conditions ever again. I suppose I just knew it. It was just in me, that, even when I didn't know exactly what my path was, that I could always trust myself and really do anything. And what's funny? That's what people say is like, they say that's what people have done wrong with millennials. Like they have told them they could be anything. And I'm like, what, why the fuck is that such a crime? Because it was like the greatest gift my mom ever gave me, because I never settled for shit bosses and shit feelings. And so that's how I continue to just trust myself, trust the path, and evolve to now.
We have a friend who talks about that, and this is his the way he describes it is like, okay, if your child needed to be fed, would you let your child starve? And the answer is, of course not. You do anything. So he's like, great. So just go do what the hell you want. It's like, trust yourself. Uh-huh. You can be sourceful. You can pull from whatever situation arises, whatever's needed. And so anyway, like that's what I hear you describing. It's like trusting yourself is such a crucial thing, that it's fine to take a leap. It's okay. You'll figure it out as you go. And so as you made that leap, it sounds like you went on a bit of a travel. Was that right? Did you kind of start moving around the world, and just what happened then?
So I went traveling because I was like, well, what do? I had all these ideas. I was going to start a metabolism business. I didn't have any business background in my family, but I had a lot of really successful business friends. And so I was always like, I'm just going to do something businessy. But I went traveling, and my friend Joe actually introduced me to a product that I loved. And then I got into network marketing, and that was really for me. And it was very much like a company with integrity, and it was heart-centered. It wasn't like this, the general, I suppose, understanding of network marketing and how it's perceived. And which was great because I didn't actually know that there was so much stigma around it. I just saw it for what it was at its heart. And I'm so grateful because that really was the catalyst for so much for me. And I built, amazing organization, which is still thriving today, and of tens and tens of thousands of young people who were just really unsettled with what they'd been dished up and what they'd been told they had to do. And this was their way to do things differently, and to do things differently to their parents, and to create this life that we'd been previously told was too good to be true. And we know, I talk about in my book, this divine intolerance. Like, we are born with this divine intolerance of things that we know no longer work for our planet. And so that's what I found, like, my journey in network marketing really gave me, was this understanding of, was this platform really to find and reach these people who are feeling like I was feeling, and a way for us to build something together, to learn about money and speaking and people and service and vision and, all of this stuff. It was like a business university, but, in a way that allowed us to build team and, really, really live life on our own terms, but also be of so much service to others. And so, that was my journey then. And as I said, I really grew up there, and I then started to realize, wow, I always felt like every time I'd speak on stage or anything, the messages that come out, it was never really directly about network marketing. It was always about the bigger picture. And so I slowly started to realize that my generation was yearning to understand what they were here to do differently and how they were here to be differently. And they could feel it in their cells, but they no one was describing or explaining it. Like, what's this new paradigm? What is this new set of instructions we carry in our DNA? What are we here to do that's different? And can we have permission to do that, even though, our parents and other people may not understand? And so that's, how my work just led me on to, like, creating events and describing what I now call the new way, which is really, ancient ways just merged with the new again. And so that led me to where I am now. And just, I look back and I'm like, fuck, how did it all happen like that perfectly? But, it always does.
Yeah. On that note, it sounds like you had, like, for a long time, maybe always, like, a real connection to your true calling and your true self, and, like, really believed that what you felt and what you knew was right, which I think a lot of people, like, as you were describing, kind of like, when you stop wanting to see clients or didn't want to study, like, I think about how many years, like, I just pushed through those things. How many people just push through those things because you're supposed to work this way. And so I know that along the way, this became more like, you became more overtly kind of a conscious or spiritual entrepreneur. Maybe you can tell us, like, was there kind of a turn at some point where this became a more kind of like overtly conscious spiritual path for you? It sounds like it always kind of was, but was there a change there along the way?
I think it was gradual. I mean, when I first started building my first enterprise, which was my network marketing business, I had a mentor. And I remember I was just starting out. I was earning about $500 a week, and I had a mentor, and he was all about energy and releasing and just a whole bunch of different methods that were all, basically all to do with energy and the questions and the stories we're asking ourselves. It was never, hardcore masculine coaching. So the mentor I chose, which he's the person I actually have a call with straight after this, which is crazy because that was 5 years ago. He was very influential for me. So I always had such a grounded ego, really no sense of ego, someone who'd really merged the spirit world with the business world. And so I feel like just gradually by choosing him as a person who had the biggest impact on me in terms of mentoring, it just, gradually I just started to evolve and expand and everything else that started to influence me, it's like sometimes you go through this big, fast, turbulent washing machine periods of change where it happens really quick. I feel like I'm in one of those right now. Mm-hmm. But then we have other ones that is quite slow and painful. And so, yeah, that's, if we look back in the last 5 years, and it's just been a mixture of those, but just nonstop growth and evolution. Like, it's crazy. Even since I wrote my book, like I did my book tour in LA on Saturday, and what I said at the event, because I do like pretty much a transmission for 90 minutes, 2 hours of the event, is completely different to even what was in the book. So it's like, wow, like is it time to do like Earth is Hiring 2 already? Like, fuck, how quick. We're all moving so quickly. So I look back at, like, even, you look back at your old Facebook post, I'm like, oh my God, wow. But, it's just, yeah. So I suppose just, it was just a combination of my soul orchestration, bringing me the books at the right time and the mentors at the right time and the people and the situations and then just, choices to follow that rather than so many of the other more, I suppose, hardcore teachings that many around me were following.
And so along the way, you talk pretty openly about money, and I'd love to hear you talk about money very specifically as not the object of it, but what it actually is, what that exchange is about. Because I know that you've had a very I think in the network marketing career, if I'm not mistaken, you did very well for yourself, and but through that process, kind of understood like what money actually is. Talk about that. That's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So I was on quite a journey with money, and I feel like it was soul orchestration. Like I was sort of put into that role here in this lifetime to, I suppose, match heart consciousness or heart-centeredness and money together. And I really feel like that's such a part of my role. So obviously growing up, we had a 3-bedroom house, 5 people. My mom slept on the couch for, quite a long time. She was always having to sell cars so we could go on our soccer trips. We grew up without a lot of money, but with a very generous mom. And so, I saw what money stress, I could see that money did stress my mom out. It did. We had times where the hot water system would blow up in the middle of winter and my mom she couldn't get it done for the next pay. So we were pouring boiling water from the kettle into the bath. And so I could see that there was times when, my mom was just so stretched and that she would have been thriving a lot more if she wasn't. So I just grew up like knowing, one day I'm going to help my mom out because she just fucking deserves it. But then, that's, again, was part of the reason where I was like, I'm going to become a doctor by the time I'm 25 because I'll be able to give some of my income to my mom and retire her from her 40-year career, which she has given her life to while raising 4 children. And so for me, when I got introduced to network marketing, I didn't know it was going to, grow to like 7 figures, and I was going to grow into this abundance that feels so natural for me now. But again, it was so part of my calling to grow into that so that I could redefine it for my generation and for my family, most importantly. So, I grew and I expanded and I was, again, I had my mom's gene of generosity and social responsibility, but I also had like this soul pulling, which was like, well, you need to combine that with an example of how wealth can be conscious and, what wealth in the right hands can do. And the fact that we are on earth to play and to enjoy and to also luxuriate. And that's not something to be shied away from, So I went through a lot of people that, around me who didn't, and perhaps just to stop there and share what I learned money is, we say money is an energy, it's a resource, it's a currency, but before it's that, it's a story. So money is a story, and money is literally not judging, but humans are always in judgment of money. So money is just responding to whatever story we are telling about it in our lives. So it's an energy, but it does what energies do. It goes where it's welcomed and it doesn't go where it's not welcome. So I knew that in order to fulfill what I was here to do, I needed to change my money story to be different from all of the people who were sort of around me in my hometown. And I did have some friends who had great money stories. So I was, I just had to choose, like, did I want to borrow a money story from society? Did I want to inherit a money story from lineage that perhaps doesn't work for me anymore? Or did I want to create my own money story? Because that's what we're here to do. And even though there's always going to be so many people around who think, everybody should have the same amount of money or money should work the same for everyone, that's not what we're here to do. We're here to be creators and choosers, and everybody's on such a different soul journey. So we just can't judge how other people operate with money. We have to take responsibility for our own experience with money and choose how we want it to play out in our life this time. And so for me, I started to I upgraded my story, and I was just telling rewarding stories about money, like money trusts me to circulate it consciously on behalf of the earth. And this is, I've always been very philanthropic, and again, but I've always also owned the fact that I do want to eat organic food, and I do we travel an awful lot, but now I've evolved to this place where it's like, again, and this is like where I really dove in on the weekend. It's something really new for me to talk about, but this judgment around money that so many people have, like so many people say, well, just tax the rich. And for me, I'm like, how the fuck is that going to work when these entrepreneurs are creating so many jobs for people and so many solutions for people that the government aren't able to create? So there's so much judgment around people who have more or choose to create more money than the average person. And I don't feel like that's the solution. I feel that it's all a consciousness issue. So if we can live more from the heart, the people who do choose to create or generate more money will naturally want to share and help and support and give to other people. But it's not going to work with such a naive and limited perspective of just rob the rich to feed the poor, because not everybody is here to have the same experience. Some people are here on their 50th lifetime. Some people are here on their second. Some people in their last lifetime were really rich and are here this time to learn a lesson. Some people were really struggling in the last lifetime and are now here to be really abundant. Like, we have no idea. So judgment around money is really the killer, and what is cock-blocking people from enjoying their life and having money be their teammate. So, firstly, money's a story. And money isn't the judging asshole that we think it is. We are the judging asshole. You know what I mean? So, I could talk about money forever, but I'll leave it there and see if you have
great.
Any.
Yeah. No, just that idea that it's story, that it's energy, that we're attracting to ourselves the story that we need and that we're meant to manifest in this life. Like, it makes me think about this, what you were talking about in terms of the new way. And the way that we're meant to live here. And I'm wondering if you can, expanding upon what you've just said about money, maybe in the larger context of our lives and what we're doing here, talk a bit more about the new way as you see it, and how it sounds like this is kind of a calling that emerged through you to express to others.
Yeah. So I think, again, the new way, a lot of it's so not new. It's ancient ways that we've sort of forgotten, merged with the new. So there's so much sacred in the old, and there's also so much sacred in the new. So the new way is really about blending them together and remembering while also creating. So yeah, the new way is just, there's so much to it. But it really is, there's so much in it, like playing and raising our vibration. It's stuff that people back in our ancestors, they didn't even think about it. It's so natural. But then there's things now like technology and money that we've got to merge it together. So one of the big underpinnings in my book I talk about is that, Mother Earth is asking us to raise our collective vibration so that we are more like her, which means living more from the heart, not trying to evolve everybody else on our soul's watch. Playing more, lightening up, enjoying life more, even amongst all the shit all the shit and crazy stuff that life brings. But that's really where I feel like the conversation is going now. Like there's time for protests and movements, and I love so much everything that's going on right now, all the really quick moving protests and movements for unity across the board. But we can't ever do that without remembering that we need to be living from our hearts. And that's where I feel like we've got to evolve to next is, there's all these movements, veganism, or, over and over and over and over, all these ones. But a lot of the time where we think we're moving towards compassion, but we're doing it in a non-compassionate way. And that's where we're being asked to stop and be like, the whole point is living from the heart and raising our vibration. So can we do our work and also focused on our vibration? So essentially it's an upgraded action, but also an upgraded vibration. That's when we'll know harmony with each other and with the earth. Whereas, again, we've been in this time where it's so focused on the action that sometimes the action is laced with energy that's not rewarding, like hate and anger and judgment and blame, which is all human. But again, what we're being asked to do is to take a look at that and not hide behind our action without taking a look at how we're genuinely feeling about others and about the world, and how we can be an energy that's more beneficial for our earth and each other.
That's great. I do want to be sure that we kind of so you were involved with the network marketing, and then and you still are, it sounds like, to some degree, but many other things emerged after that. Maybe kind of, because we have a lot of questions here about kind of digging into some of the things that you really love to talk about now. But before I lose track of the story, where did things go from there, and kind of all these creations that you've been that you've given to so many people? Let's be sure to track those. Yeah.
So, I mean, essentially the network marketing gave me not only the platform and the lessons and just so many, knowings, but also financial resources to be able to create and serve in a way that, many can't, or perhaps that I wasn't previously able to. So I was be able to create events and just fully fund them myself, and just really do a lot of things like and fail for, like, create big events that I was just fully pulling out of my own pocket for, create, travel the world and speak at different things and pay for it out of my own pocket if I wanted to. Just be very generous in my creations and really not worry about a thing. It also allowed me to create in a way that was always in integrity, because I wasn't ever wanting to overmarket or oversell or do anything that didn't feel congruent for me, because I suppose I had built the resources that allow me to do everything in a really aligned way. And again, it's become more aligned as I've evolved. But I suppose my network marketing, and I still do serve that company in a different way, more from a evolving the company as a whole now, with my husband. So, but that journey led me to, just like, okay, what's next, and just being able to be in this creative mind, but also to be able to serve people who weren't affiliated with that company or that business, because that's the whole point, right? I was constantly speaking at these network marketing events, but there were so many other people who were like, well, that's not for me. And, I'm called to serve whoever I'm meant to serve, right? So that's where I started to create other things, because I'm just always on guidance from my soul. And that has really been the main thing. And I'm also on guidance from what I call the chief entity, which is what I believe is like our business or our creations or our art. That is the entity, the spirit of those things that lives in the sky. It's like our boss in the sky. So I'm just fully employed by the earth and by these entities, and I just go where I am called to serve. And I suppose that's what happened once I built my network marketing business. I was like, okay, here I have this understanding of this generation and of money and of business, and so much that I didn't have before. Now I need to create things to serve people beyond this community. And that was a funny transition, because, again, it does take a lot of faith and a lot of trust but I just have so much trust in my guidance, whether it's the entities, whether it's my soul. I just implicitly trust it because I don't know any other way. So that's how I led on to all these creations, and some were good, some were not, but I'm in love with the process of creating, that I don't really care if things are good or not. I'm just creating. And right now I'm in the process of like deciding, am I going to start like an audio channel? Like just having fun with just experimenting and creating, and knowing that, it's just, as long as you're listening to the guidance, it's always going to work out perfectly, and to not try and get it a certain way or do it like other people, and just trusting the guidance and making sure that it feels really good. And so that's where I'm at now, is just like what's going to be created next, and how.
You know, you used a word earlier when you were describing your recent talk, I guess on your tour in LA, and you used the word transmission. I'm interested. What do you mean by that? Because it sounds like you're offering your kind of your body, so to speak, as a vehicle for something to kind of come through. Is that right?
Yeah, that's it. And, a little while ago, I probably would have been embarrassed to word it like that, but it's just straight up what it is. Like, it's not. Back in the day when I used to speak on stage, especially my science stage, it was a presentation. I had my slides and my points, and I was very in my head about it. And as time's gone on, again, my soul has guided me through this journey, but I started to get on stage, and like, it was just impossible for me to overplan it, because there was so much information that just wanted to come through. So again, I just learned to implicitly trust that so much of the stuff that I was saying, it wasn't mine. And that's where I stand on stage some of the times, and I'm just like, I want a notepad next to me, because I'm hearing a lot of it for the very first time. And that's not like claiming to be like some really profound channel or anything like this. All it's saying is that there is messages that want to come through us that aren't ours, that we're just being asked to share from, whether it's the earth, from God, from source, the universe, from whoever, from these entities. And I just started to learn that, wow, this isn't me coming up with this stuff. Like, and some of the time, of course, I'm living it and integrating it, so I can lace my own experiences through it and share personal stories, which I do all the time. But there's so much coming through that's not mine, and I'm just being asked to trust it. And I suppose over the time, and speaking on so many stages and doing so many live calls and things like that, I just started to learn and know it for what it is. So at these Earth is Hiring events, I will literally get up on the stage and I won't plan a thing, and they're all so different because the audience just needs something so different. And I get there and I just talk, and sometimes I have things I think I want to explore, and I just trust that it's going to be a mixture of my experiences and also the information that wants to come through. And I just trust, and I am exhausted afterwards, because it's all energy. It's not just the words, it's the energy that, you're embodying and being for those people. And again, it's not like in this whole, like, well, look, look at me, I'm like a guru. It's nothing like that. It's really quite the opposite. It's like, I am just like letting this stuff come through me, and adding in, and integrating it with my own experiences, and also not taking credit for all of it, because some of it, it's so, like I said, sometimes I'm speaking and I'm like, wow, like, cool. And it very much is, again, like, that's without laying claim to being any great anything. It's just like, that's just exactly what it is. It's just getting out of the way, being a vessel. And it took it's taken a lot of speeches. It's taken a lot of everything to trust that process, and just get out of my head and be in my heart and be like, what do these people need to hear? And I think, I don't know if everybody's meant to do that in our life, but some are, when, we always know when we watch people on stage, the ones who are reading from auto cue versus the ones who just drop into their heart and share. There's always an element of divinity at play when that's happening.
Yeah. Do you, knowing that it can be hard for people to get in touch with that, like, is this something that just kind of comes naturally for you? Is there something you do, practice, or anything like that to kind of cultivate your connection with this guidance? Or is it just something that you kind of show up and let come through you?
It comes natural now. I suppose it just took a lot of practice and a lot of trust. And again, it's not on everyone's path to speak. And I didn't think it was on my path. When I was doing my PhD, I hated speaking. I was awful at it. I remember speaking at medical conferences, and it was just so painful. I would get a rash. And so for me to it's crazy, because looking back, I was like, I never thought this was going to be what I do. So again, it's so soul orchestration, where, it's so trusting our path and what we've been called to do. And at the beginning, it was really uncomfortable. I remember doing a presentation on one Wednesday night and just sweating and had a projector, and my ex-boyfriend walked in and was just horrendous, and just times where it very was like I had a lot of slides, I had a lot of points, I practiced. There was so much of that, but I did it so often that I formed this trust with myself and this trust with the fact that if I can really drop into that, there is information coming through me. And again, is it true for everyone? I'm not sure. Everyone can speak from their heart. That's what I know for real. But not everybody has the same path. Not everybody is supposed to deliver their art or do their sole purpose in the same way. So again, it's just about getting honest with what am I here to do? How am I here to serve? And that this is just so happens to be how it is for me. I don't feel like I necessarily chose it. I feel like this is how I'm meant to serve. And sometimes, it's inconvenient because I'm like, fuck, like I don't want to be on social media. I want to be off the grid, but I know it's so part of my sole purpose to deliver messages and poems and, do these events and write these books. It just feels not really negotiable for me. Mm-hmm. So it was definitely something that developed over time. And right now, what do I do to get in the zone? I think I just take good care of myself. I take good care of myself. I take good care of my body. I have boundaries around my life. And I always will only really say yes to podcasts, events that really feel in alignment, because for me to be able to, share information that sometimes is quite personal or sacred, I just, that alignment is so important. So I just take care of myself so that I can do the work I do, which, to be honest, a lot of the time is, especially after an event, is quite energetically taxing. Like I finish and then I'm like, just give me fries, and I just eat fries.
One thing, and I on our notes is definitely get into the book because I'm personally super into it. But when you step out into the public eye, you're a creator. You're giving speech. You're talking from the stage. You're really putting yourself in a leadership role, which is beautiful. But inevitably, there is some resistance that comes up, either from other people, haters, trolls, but also people who are like who disagree, who may be conflict, et cetera, all that stuff. I'm just, as we get our share of that. I don't think quite probably to what you may experience, but maybe kind of talk about like how you deal with that internally, like, because I think when people like our audience are people either on the other side of the fence really trying to carve their own path in life, or are looking at the fence thinking, I really want to get over that fence. But one thing that comes up a lot for people is like, what are my friends going to think? What are, am I going to get negative feedback? Talk about your experience with that and how you handle it.
Yeah. And it's real, again, I don't feel like I really get as much of it now as I did. Maybe it's because, I don't know, I'm more sure of myself now. But, when I first started in network marketing, I got it really bad, awful, to the point where I was at a police station with pages and pages of evidence of people just nasty cyberbullying that was just bad. And it was me and my friend there sitting. And so we were young females, really celebrating people. Again, maybe we're a bit annoying because we were so excited, but we were in our early 20s, we were just learning, but we were positive. We were, earning great money. We were helping other people. We were celebrating people. And it just really, in Perth where I grew up, with tall poppy syndrome, it just pissed a lot of people off. And so it was bad for about a year and a half. All the news channels were trying to do stories and just, it was quite intense, but I never really lost my posture. I suppose it was just, again, it was non-negotiable for me. Like I was just like, well, would I rather like it's just too tiring to try and pretend. It's too tiring to not listen to my soul. Although sometimes it hurts and it stings a lot, would we rather be surrounded by people who are not aligned? Would we rather be like literally tippy-toeing on eggshells to please people who maybe aren't meant to be in our world for much longer? Or are we meant to, or like, is it easier to just be like, fuck it? And we just got to make that decision, So it's never really stops. I think, I've had times like when I was 36 weeks pregnant last year, I had one of the worst little attacks online. And it was surprisingly by people in like a conscious community who just really weren't really speaking from a place of compassion. They were trying to teach me a point, but it was just awful. Mm-hmm. And I was so pregnant and I had zero morning sickness my whole pregnancy. And I remember that day I was just so bad. I was just so hurt. And it really, really hurt. And I just remember being to my husband, like, what's the fucking point? Like, why would I try? Like, I don't need to, I've created wealth for myself. I don't actually need to do any of this anymore. Maybe I'm just going to turn everything off and just not do it anymore because that would just be so much easier. Yeah. But again, I check in my soul and my soul's like, yeah, but no, like, sorry. So it stings. I think it's important to acknowledge that, yeah, it does sting and let it sting, like let it hurt, feel the hurt, but then just decide and just know that just know that firstly, that's life. Contrast is life. We're never all going to agree. And secondly, just know that as you do become more sure and, you might become more imperturbable and, but also know where your boundaries are. So there's certain things I won't speak about online because I'm just not willing to go there because I do value my energy for my child and my husband. Mm. And I don't want to constantly be feeling like shit. So, for instance, I've just written a big blog post about why I'm not vegan anymore. And this just happened last week. My soul guided me to eat fish and I've been vegan for 3 years. So I've just written this like 13, 14 page article about all these reasons. And, I'm getting ready to share it once it gets up on my site. But even then I feel so sure about trusting my guidance and my body, but I already can feel people that I know who are going to be like, what the fuck, Peta? Like, do you not care about animals anymore? So it's like, but I feel this responsibility to also be not sharing that I'm vegan 1 minute and then not being vegan and then not sharing it because there's so many people in my audience who I've become aware have chosen to be vegan because I'm vegan. And I don't want them to do things just because I do things. I want them to trust their intuition. So I feel a responsibility now to share with my audience, which is kind of fucked up that you change your eating and you have to tell people, but it's just the world that we're in,
That's right.
But so I suppose it never goes away. Your posture, online bullying is real. It fucking hurts. There's no sidestepping it. But I suppose your posture and your certainty and your clarity, it really does make a difference in how bad it is. And I suppose, yeah, so that's my advice. Feel it. Know that you will become more imperturbable. Know that it's not good to necessarily expect it because I like to think that we are getting nicer to each other online. And I like to think that, we are that's what I like to believe. So I don't post things online expecting to get people have a go. But we're always going to because it's just the way the world is. You know what I mean? It's just the way the world is. And, it's just little things. Like I shared, after I wrote my book, I had a couple of people say, who do you think you are? Like, you did not create anything new. You think your generation is so good, just things like that. And I'm like, well, like, I'm never going to fucking please everyone. Like, what am I going to write a book? Like, can I really write a book that's going to please everyone? And if you think about it, like literally there are people online who are so offended by everything that if you post a photo of yourself in a hat, they will write, well, fucking, I don't like hats, so why would you post this photo? Like, how big? That's actually how the internet is working right now. So you just have to decide, like, yeah, like, again, it's just got to be a journey. And right now where I'm at is like, is it going to happen again? Yeah, of course it is. But I know my boundaries. I know when to just shut it off. And if it does sting, I just let it sting. And I just talk about it to my husband and, and then I know where the boundaries are. If I had a friend who recently got really out of hand for him, and I told him, like, is are you really like, do you think leaving it up is really rewarding you, your family right now? And so again, it all comes down to your personal boundaries and navigating it. But I don't think we should expect that we're going to cause a lot of shit by being ourselves. Like by being aligned, you're going to attract more people who are aligned with your message. And, that might take a little bit of growing pains. Like you might have to go through your friends and family who are going to be like, whoa, that's crazy. But wouldn't you rather just be yourself? Like, isn't that just easier? And just know that 98% of people are going to get it, and you're going to attract people who are aligned with you. And that if you didn't have a few who didn't, then what would be the point? Like, this would just be so boring. You know what I mean? So just expect love, expect alignment, live from your alignment, and don't try and focus on all the repercussions of alignment, because the repercussions of alignment are nowhere near as bad as not being aligned. So just live in your alignment, live in your truth, and just go for it. And just know that your clarity is what matters the most. And, it's just, it goes differently for everyone.
Yeah. I mean, so perfect. Once again, it's about coming back to your alignment and your truth. And I know that we don't have a lot more time with you. We definitely want to talk more about your book, Earth is Hiring, which came out in January. And I know we talked a little bit about this earlier. It's about the new way to live, lead, earn, and give, you said in the title. Tell us about, a little bit more about what Earth is hiring us for right now, and specifically kind of following up on what you were talking about earlier with the new way. Why is it so important to feel good and play and raise your vibe? Like, why is that so important to our mission according to what the Earth is hiring us for?
I just feel that, a new paradigm is here. Some people call it 4D or even 5D, and the Earth is like people. It's no secret that they're a part of the Earth that perhaps need assistance. But I don't believe that the Earth needs us to save her. Like, I feel like it's the other way around. I feel like the Earth is trying to save us, from our fucking seriousness, from our torment, from our lack of compassion, from our hate. And it's like, if you look at the Earth, she's always just in love and compassion and grace and forgiveness and trust. It's us humans that are not. So we have this whole thing, like we run around like it's our job to save the Earth, and we are angry, not compassionate, living out of alignment, doing all these things because we think that that's our job. And the Earth's like, fuck, it's not what I want you to do. And I feel like, everything we see on Earth, like homelessness, racism, just every sex trafficking, corporate greed, all this stuff that we see that we perhaps people feel is such a big issue. It's like our hearts. That's the issue. It's our hearts. It's how much or little we are loving. That is the reason there are these issues. Like, if we can live from the heart and focus on how we are feeling, compassion and love, and raising our vibration, then we're not going to have these issues. These issues are not rocket science. Like I say in my book, it's heart science. It's like, once we can take care of our heart, live from our heart, and upgrade our collective consciousness to collectively something that's just more rewarding for each other and the planet, then we're not going to see these issues that we see right now. Like, it's again, money's not the issue. It's, business is not the issue. It's all comes down to like terrorism, all of it. It's all consciousness. So that's why we're being asked to take a look, where are we throwing tomatoes at the TV screen, blaming this one politician, when in our hearts we are judging, hating, discriminating, not living in alignment, slapping life in the face. Where are we not taking care of our energy, our heart, and our vibration? And that doesn't mean spiritually bypassing, pretending everything's okay all the time. It means healing our own shit and taking responsibility for our own journey and our soul, rather than trying to get everybody else on the journey of our soul and wishing the whole world would think what we think and spending all of our energy in that. And so I think that, to me, when I tune into the Earth, she's like, fuck, guys, can you just laugh a bit more and heal your own stuff and not worry so much about what these people are doing, and just trust that, me and the divine, we have a plan, and, you're not here to save anyone or anything. You're here to raise your vibration and do your work from there. Serve people from there. Take care of the mission and the things you care about from there. Send money from there. And then we will start to see all this tension soothe. So I just feel like we've got to start at the level of the heart, in private, and lighten up, and then do our work from there, because our work is important. It's important, all this work like Syria and anti-racism and sex trafficking and the environment, and, we could go on and on and on. It's all important, but we need to be doing it from a more rewarding vibration, because in order to be in harmony with Mother Earth, we need to feel more like Mother Earth. And we are separate from her right now because we're not living and feeling like her. So it's just, that's what I feel the new way is in a nutshell. And then, I talk about money and leadership and all this other stuff in there, but that's really at the crux.
I think as maybe we have a little coda. We always ask everybody 3 very quick questions, but maybe as a final question, one thing I've noticed is that young people tend to, from everywhere I look in every category, there are numerous people in their 20s, early 30s that are really becoming leaders. And it seems like young people have a very special message. Now, some people refer to that generation as millennials. We can call them that, but it's really what I notice from the age of almost 46 is that many of the people I listen to, you included, are much younger than me. And I'm wondering, you think a lot about this. Where do you see the role of this generation as being?
Yeah. So I think, every generation takes their turn to change the world. It's just how we evolve. So, I look at my mom's generation, the baby boomers, and all the things they did differently for the generations before. It's just evolution. But it's crazy how, millennials are the most studied, analyzed generation on earth. And it's like, I think it's just because things are speeding up and things are needing to be done differently because the planet is asking us to. We're becoming super populated, so therefore we do need to lace, environmental policies. We need to become better at sustainability. The tension in terms of humanity is so high that we are being asked to lace social causes throughout our companies, like create these movements, like these amazing movements that are going on, like Me Too, and just all of that stuff. It's millennials are here in summary to take their turn to change the world in the way that the world is asking us to. So, in the beginning of my book, I talk about divine intolerance as being like the greatest gift that millennials have. It's just basically like a divine intolerance to what is no longer working. And we just have a different set of DNA. And my children, your children, they've got a different set of DNA than us. So it's just really about like this generational trust that every generation is doing their bit to change the world in response to what the world is asking for, which is why you're seeing all these movements, which is why you're seeing such a importance put on sustainability and, just togetherness. And I suppose, when millennials do things like ask for better work from home policies, it's because in our DNA, we know that the world needs us to feel better than we have. We know that workaholism is not what the world is asking us for right now. It's not the world that our children came here to inherit. So we are doing what we know to be true in ourselves for the world, to pass on this planet and be a more thriving collective for our planet and our children. And there's tons of different ways in which we're being called to do that. And but again, it all comes down to generational trust and generational respect that every generation is doing their best for evolution.
Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. And I know, as you said, even about your own book tour, it's accelerating all the time and the message is just coming quicker and quicker and quicker. So it's a really exciting time of transformation. I know we need to end in a few minutes, so we're going to ask you our quick fire 3 questions for the end of the call that we ask on every podcast. And the first one is, what book or books up to 3 would you recommend that every person should read?
Oh, gosh. I get asked this all the time and it's still not that much easier. I really love Osho, Creativity, and I just watched his documentary on Netflix. So it's, people are like, "Do you still like his teachings, even though you saw his crazy cult?" And I'm like,
someone just showed that to us. Yeah.
I've been reading his book since before I saw that stuff. It doesn't change. Again, It doesn't change the message. The message isn't him, and I have zero judgment towards him at all. So still love Osho. So Osho, Creativity is one. God, I'm just looking behind me. We just gave away all our books. So you know what's one that I love Abraham Hicks, so anything to do with Abraham Hicks. There is one that's, there's Meet Your Soul, actually, by Alyssa Romeo. She's my friend. So Meet Your Soul. I recommend that book to everyone. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on, but I think just leave it there because I could pick any out of a hat. So maybe they're the ones that your audience most needs.
Sure.
But Meet Your Soul. Alyssa's my friend. She's amazing. I recommend her book literally to everyone. And I text her and I'm like, yep, just did it again. but it's so good. Like, it really is so practical. Like, we all talk about listening to your soul and soul guidance, but then there's like a book which is so practical. That's what we need,
Great.
So
yeah, that's a great service. And we'll certainly link to your book too in the show notes. Second question. This is directed to somebody who's really embedded in the kind of matrix, if you will, of the old way of living. What would be the first thing they could do, or one tool that you would offer that person?
Maybe just like circulate some energy. So go and dance or go to a new city. I think our energy gets so stagnant and stuck and boring that we aren't allowing any like new clarity and insight and creativity in because we're just doing the same thing every single day. And, as you're traveling right now. When you step into a new city, you feel different. Like, there's new energy, there's new clarity, there's new ideas. So I think just circulate some new energy. Like, if planning a trip is too much, then perhaps like wear something different or, work in a different spot. Just start circulating some energy in your life so you can, because you already, like, the answers are all you. You know what I mean? It's not, there's no one going to come and tell you what's right for you. But if you can just access your own clarity by getting rid of some old energy, then it's a good place to start.
Perfect. The third question is, what are you most excited about right now?
We are going to Europe next month, and I haven't been in a couple of years, and I love Europe. So something just simple like that. I'm excited to sit in the cafes in London. I'm excited to take my baby girl to the park and feed the ducks. Just simple things like that. Cafes, and I've been dreaming of taking my daughter before she was even born to wear gumboots and go to Hyde Park and feed the ducks.
That's so cool. That's so cool. Well, before we say goodbye, Peta, where would you like people to look for you online, and anything maybe coming up for you that you'd like people to know about?
Just petakelly.com. Most things are there. I've got 2 more book tours, New York and London. petakelly.com. Instagram is where I am the most. I'm not really on Facebook anymore. And my thing is just PetaJean _. So
sweet.
Pretty simple. Yeah.
And you'll post a picture of your daughter with those boots on?
I will. I will definitely post the boots. Yeah, so cute.
Awesome, Peta. Well, I know we need to let you go, so thank you so much for your time. This has been such an awesome, inspiring
really killer stuff. Thank you very much, Peta.
Thanks so much for having me. I love everything that you're doing, all the guests that you bring on, and like the different conversations that you have.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. That's it for this week's Ownstream Podcast. Thanks so much for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed this amazing interview with Peta Kelly. Be sure to check out the show notes for this episode for links to everything mentioned, including Peta's website, her new book, Earth is Hiring, her social media profiles, and the other resources we discussed. All of that can be found at ownstream.co/Peta Kelly. That's ownstream.co/PetaKelly. Please sign up for our newly revamped newsletter, News for a New Earth, Tools and Stories for an Enlightened World. Approximately twice per month, we will send out a digest of the latest findings and creations emerging from the vast paradigm shift of awakening happening on the planet. Everything from spiritual breakthroughs to scientific findings about the quantum field and consciousness to the latest in alternative living structures, nutrition and health, cryptocurrency, community building, world travel, and more. Basically, it's the news you actually need. Please sign up at ownstream.co and just click the sign up link in the upper right-hand corner on any page. Also, please leave us a review on iTunes. We need your help in expanding our reach, helping us to inspire more people and spread the amazing ideas discussed on this episode with Peta Kelly and others too. If it feels right to you, simply go to iTunes, search for the Ownstream Podcast, click ratings and reviews, then click that 5th star and leave us a brief comment on how this episode or others has inspired you. Thank you so much for considering that. We are very grateful. Finally, we're on Twitter and Facebook at Ownstream and on Instagram at own_stream. Thanks so much. We'll talk to you next week. Thanks for listening to the Ownstream Podcast. To learn more and connect with us, please visit ownstream.co or follow us on Twitter at Ownstream and Instagram at own_stream.